So we've had a lot of questions recently about scheduling and contracting levels. When we send out the contracts, they're all assigned to either a level 1, a level 2, or a level 3. And we've had a lot of questions come in from instructors, and so we thought this quick little video would be helpful in just explaining a little bit further, so that hopefully this answers a lot of questions that we get. Just to start out with, on the screen right here that I'm showing you, this is our forecasting screen, and this is what I use to determine how many sections we're going to need of a particular course. And if we take, for instance, this Accounting 180 course, and I'm not going to go into too many details about this, but for winter 2018, that's what I'm working on right now. What it's doing is it's going back and looking at winter 2017, and we had 6 sections. This shows complete sections, so we had, some of the sections had a few open seats. But long story short, we use winter 2017 to determine how many sections we're going to need for winter 2018, and then I just forecast the number there. And I work with departments to do this too, because many times departments are going to have things come up that maybe they have a couple, or one time in the religion department we forecasted and sent it out, and the department looked at it and said, it looks great, but what you don't know is that we have 3 of our faculty members were just called to serve missions, and so we lost them, and what you don't know is you're going to have a lot more demand coming your way online, and so that we make those adjustments. And so we do our best at getting those forecasts close, and most of the time we get very, very close with our forecasts. Every now and then there's things that come up and we're a little bit low and a little bit high. And when we schedule, we always try to use that knowledge that it could be a little bit low or a little bit high when we're doing the scheduling. For instance, right here for 7 sections of Accounting 180, if that's going to be the forecast that we have for winter 2018, what we may look at is if we have 4 or 5 instructors, that might be just enough that we can cover all those 7. And so we try to ensure that everybody has at least one section, and then we try to give us a buffer that if we did just come in at, say, 5, that we would still have all of our instructors getting at least one section. But also, and so we may have in that instance we may have a couple of our instructors doubled up. We also want to leave ourselves room so that if we, say, got up to 8 or 9 sections, that we could do that as well. And so we try to be as flexible as possible in our scheduling, so that if we're a little bit under forecast, then we're going to be all right. We have our instructors all teaching, and if we're a little bit over, that we have enough instructors that can pick up a second section that we can cover those. And that kind of leads me to my second point, and that is, what are the priorities when we're scheduling? And the number one priority really is that we need to meet demand for the students. That if we're going to have 9 sections of Accounting 180, then we need to have enough instructor availability to reach that. And so if we have to hire an instructor to give us a little bit of buffer, then sometimes we'll do that. And as demands increase semester to semester, then you'll see that we add more instructors. Sometimes we'll get questions from instructors that, why are you hiring an instructor when I would love to do a second section and am not scheduled for one? And the reason is, really, it goes back to that what I was just talking about, that we have to leave ourselves room if we go over forecast. And so we have to prepare to come in a little bit low or go over a little bit high. And that's the real reason. And what we ask our instructors to do is really plan on 1 section per semester. And if a second happens, and that's something that you're interested in, then that's great. And we're happy when that happens. But really, that's the anomaly. That 1 section really is the norm. And then, so number 1 is meeting student demand. Number 2, close after that, is we want our instructors to be happy. We want you to be able to teach, and that's why we try to say plan on 1 section, and if a second happens, then that's great. And every now and then that does happen. Multiple sections do happen, but that's really the reasoning behind why we schedule the way we do, is because, especially if you look at our our pathway courses, our academic start courses, they fluctuate so much that, we really do need to be flexible, either going over or under. And in those ones, sometimes it's not even possible to get even one section for all the instructors that want to teach. For instance, in accounting or in GS 120, we had in fall semesters somewhere between 200 and 250 sections of GS 120, and then in spring or winter semester that drops down to around 30 sections, and then in spring we have just a handful of sections. And you can see in those cases, and it's not just GS 120 that's like that. There's several others, mostly in the academic start courses. But you can see how we get ourselves into a situation where not all instructors are going to be able to teach. And sometimes we do in our Pat and Anna, that many of you know, they do a great job of moving instructors around to ensure that if you're not going to be teaching in your primary course, that we try and find you another spot. It's not always possible, but they really do work hard to be able to do that and to make sure that all of our instructors are teaching. Sorry, I have a couple notes here to make sure I hit everything I need to. How do we open sections? So this kind of gets into the leveling, or the levels of contracts. For Accounting 180 for winter semester, if we have 7 sections, at the beginning of registration, we may open up 3 sections, because I'm very, very confident that we're going to be able to fill those. And once the 3rd section fills, then what we do is we start opening up the 4th, and then that one fills, and then we open up the 5th, and that one fills, and so on, until we get to the end in the registrations. Enrollments start to dip or stop altogether, and then whatever we end up with, that's how many sections. And we do that purposefully, of course, to make sure that we're being as efficient as we can with the Lord's funds, and to make sure that we're having as high as fill rate as we can. And so when we look at the levels, and I'll pull this up really quick. So the level 1 contracts, what Anna and Pat are doing when they go through the setting up a schedule, is they'll look at, if we take that accounting situation again, that example, if there's 7 sections that we're forecasting, then usually we know with a pretty high degree of confidence that 3 or 4 are going to open. So we'll probably assign 3 or 4 level 1s to that course, and then the 5th or the 6th or 7th, maybe the 6th one, we make a level 2. The likelihood of this section being canceled due to low enrollment is low, because again, our forecasts do usually come in pretty close to what we're forecasting, and then maybe that last one we'll assign it a level 3. It could be that the last 2 sections, 6 and 7, are assigned a level 3. Really, it depends on what's happening. If we're expecting some extra enrollments from campus, that hypothetically speaking, if we drop 2 sections on campus, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have 2 online sections as a result, but we don't know how many students are going to result from those canceled sections, and so we may make the last 2 sections level 3. But what we see is, by and large, we hit our forecast pretty close. So even if you're in a level 2 or level 3, the likelihood of those sections, what it comes down to is we're planning on those sections opening, but with level 2 contracts, there is always that likelihood that we won't get to that section. In level 3, there's even a little bit more likelihood that we're not going to get to that section. And so we like to be as upfront and honest as possible. In the past, what we used to do is that we would really only contract those sections that we had a very high degree of confidence that we were going to open. And then once we got into registration, we would only contract the additional sections as those sections opened. And so you can see it gets a little bit harder to make plans as an instructor and know, where am I going to be scheduled and how many sections. And so we like to assign the contracting level and send them all out at the same time, so that we're planning on you for a level 1 for a certain course, and maybe even we're planning on you for a level 3 for another, and that right off the bat. We think that that gives the instructors a lot more information and also abilities to make plans. If as we go through registration, we open up the section, then we'll go ahead and change the level either from a level 2 to a level 1 or a level 3 to a level 1 once that's open. So you can always check back. Actually, if ever you're changed to a level 1 from either a 2 or 3, then you'll get an email saying that your contract was changed to a level 1. As far as determining, because one of the questions is, why am I not a level 1? And I wish that we could have all of our sections a level 1. I wish that I always knew exactly how many sections that we were going to have, because then I could always assign level 1 contracts to everything. But it just isn't that way. And so we have to use those levels for all of our courses. And so the likelihood of you getting a level 2 or a level 3 contract, it does become higher, especially as we add more instructors. And the reason that we use several different factors in determining priority where instructors come in, like student scores, the course evaluations, we use those as well. And also TGLs, OCRs, OCRMs, AIMs, all of our leadership are also prioritized first before everybody else, because we always want to make sure that those leadership instructors are in a section that's going to open, because they're going to be serving in that leadership capacity. And then after that, really, it's based on factors like student scores and instructor scores that you get from TGLs. And so anyway, we try to make it as fair as possible. And but really, when it comes down to it, there's always going to be level 2 and level 3 contracts. And please don't take that as you're doing a poor job, because the cold hard truth is that we have a lot of great instructors. And so that's just how that falls. So I hope that answers a lot of the questions that we do get. There's no perfect way to schedule, and there's no perfect way to determine priority, but we think that the way that we're doing it right now is a good way and is a fair way to everybody. And anyway, I'm grateful for the opportunity that I have to be in the online program, and grateful for the opportunity that I have to work with such great instructors. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great day. Thanks.